Good afternoon everyone and welcome to my latest trip report. Today I'm flying an airline infamous for their questionable quality and they're happy to charge you for everything. They're also well known for their unique livery that has gotten the nickname Banana. If you haven't guessed, I'm flying Spirit Airlines and they're on the brink of bankruptcy. All of that being said, I'm somewhat scared of how this will go. We start off in the departures lane of Southwest Florida International Airport during a sunny morning set at a perfect temperature of 60 degrees. The ticketing area for Spirit Airlines was very similar to those of other airlines, and since it was the week of Thanksgiving, some of the display screens were decorated with autumn-inspired pictures of the airport. After checking in, we made our way to gate Delta 9, where aircraft for today was waiting for us. This Spirit Airlines A321-200CO, registered November 676 November Kilo, has been with Spirit since its delivery to them fresh off the production lines in July of 2017. November 676 November Kilo will be taking us on a roughly 2.5-hour journey from Southwest Florida International Airport to Chicago O'Hare. Right next to our aircraft was this Breeze A220-300, which is unloading its baggage. While waiting, I also took a look at RSW's new, quote, Lego store, though it felt more like a closet. After some more waiting, our aircraft began boarding, with me being in Group 5. Once I boarded, I found my seat in 12 Alpha and had a perfect view of that Breeze A220. As for the seat itself, it was about as simple as it can get, with a lot of obvious budget cuts since Spirit is an ultra-low-cost carrier. The 28-inch space of legroom was restraining, but it was fine if you kept your legs to the sides of the seat in front of you. Should you not choose to do this, Spirit Airlines does actually offer a unique addition to your trip if you're taller than 5'11". If you do exceed this height, you can get access to your very own tray table self-deployment system, as showcased here. Below the tray table, though it was more of a glorified cup holder, was the seat back pocket. A few strings of rope. Inside was the aircraft safety card, an ad for Spirit's mileage program, another ad for their credit card, and an air sickness bag. Above me was the standard 3 lights and adjustable air vents, as well as 2 cabin crew call buttons. Luckily, all of those things were usable. Free of charge, that is. Once we were set, we began our pushback.
Wrap the strap around your waist, fasten the buckle, and pull on the loose end of the strap to tight. A water-activated light is attached to each vest. When exiting the aircraft, pull down on the red tab at the bottom of the vest to inflate. The vest can also be inflated by blowing into the tube located at shoulder level. Remember, do not inflate your vest until you exit the mid-cabin door exits. In the event of an emergency, follow flight attendant commands and leave everything. Federal aviation regulations require compliance with lighted information signs, posted placards, or vaping devices is not permitted in the cabin or lavatories. Federal law prohibits tampering with, disabling, or destroying lavatory smoke detectors.
After we detached from our tug, we began our southbound taxi to the runway via Golf 2 and Foxtrot, eventually holding short at Foxtrot 1. We also got a great view of this Spirit A321neo that was parked next to us as it pushed back. With that, here's our departure from Fort Myers RSW, runway 06. After liftoff, we banked left to face north. This gave us a stunning view of RSW from above. In no time at all, we were approaching our cruising altitude of around 35,000 feet as we passed Tampa and got a view of the airport. I have to admit, I really wish these windows were at least a little more clean, but at least I can see through them. Once we reached that cruising altitude, our cabin crew began to hand out drinks. I, of course, got my usual Coke. After a little bit, I looked down to see that we were flying over Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, the busiest airport in the world. Anyways, let's take a look at Spirit's A321. Aside from the 8 big front seats in the front of the aircraft, the rest of the plane featured 220 standard economy class seats in a 3-3 configuration. The A321s also have a total of 3 lavatories. This specific one in the rear of the aircraft was definitely a tight fit, but there was a lavatory that was not limited by the curvature of the fuselage, and it is located next to this one. Once I had returned to my seat, we banked left to face Chicago. Shortly afterward, we began our descent into the clouds below. The fog over Lake Michigan is really bad this time of year, which hinders visibility for incoming aircraft on the lake approach. I had no clue what altitude we were at during this time, but if I had to guess, I would say somewhere around 10,000 feet. Once we got closer to O'Hare, the visibility increased significantly. With that, here's our arrival into Chicago O'Hare, runway 27 center.
Airline welcomes you to Chicago, where the local time is approximately 2:29 p.m. We'll be taxiing for the next few moments, so please remain seated with your seatbelt securely fastened until we have reached the gate and the captain has turned off the fasten seatbelt sign. Please use caution when opening the overhead bins, as items may have shifted during landing. You may now use your cell phones as long as they are within reach. Customers needing special assistance, such as a wheelchair or those that need that gate-checked items, we kindly ask that you please remain seated until the majority of the passengers have deplaned, as this will allow us to assist you better, and these items will not...
That landing was so good that I barely even noticed it when we made contact with the runway. Kudos to the pilot. After we vacated the runway, we made our way to our ramp. While crossing Bravo, I received a warm welcome from a passing CTA Blue Line, something I haven't seen in quite some time. We then passed Terminal 5, where I got a glimpse of some foreign wide-bodies. After which, we turned into the A-Prime between concourses Kilo and Lima, where we found our arrival gate, Lima 2 Charlie, and deplaned shortly afterwards. Of all the years I've lived here, I find it funny saying I've never been to Terminal 3 before, as I usually flew, and still fly, United, who dominates the other half of O'Hare. I walked around a bit and found a perfect spot at the end of Concourse Kilo, where just about every foreign arrival was going by on their way to Terminal 5. I sat here a bit and got some plane spotting in. Finally, I put on my wind coat and stepped outside into the crisp 10-degree Chicago weather. Since I grew up here, it felt so nice to be back. If you're ever in Chicago and in the mood for a good steak, I highly recommend Gibson's Steakhouse on North Rush Street in the city. And if you're looking for some genuine donuts, stop at Do Right on East Erie Street. With that, that's going to wrap up my trip report of flying from RSW to ORD on Spirit Airlines. The flight was as expected for an ultra-low-cost carrier, but the crew was funny, inviting, and actually from Chicago. The seat wasn't United Next, but it was all you really need, and technically more if you have access to that tray table self-deployment system I mentioned earlier. Anyways, that was my experience flying on a close to bankrupt Spirit Airlines, whose reputation precedes them, but in a good way. If you're looking for a cheap fare, Spirit is your way to go. I really hope that Spirit sticks around, since it's always fun to see their bright and unique livery in the skies. As always, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, fly safe.